call the regular meeting of the North Augusta Board of Zoning Appeals, July 12th, 2022, to order, please.
Kevin Skaggs.
Kathy Stallworth.
Wes Summers.
Bill Burkhalter.
Do we know if Mr. Newman's coming?
No, sir. I don't know.
Everybody got a copy of the minutes of the regular meeting for April the 12th, 2022? Any changes?
I have
I
none.
have a typo on this
Our school teacher is coming out on her again.
second, page 2 at the top. Mr. Skaggs made the motion to approve with the condition that the variance only apply to this property, and the SIG details, it should be signed there. And then on page 3, last paragraph, at the bottom.
Just a second.
Oh, okay.
All right, back with you.
Page 3, last paragraph. Mr. Baranowski would like to know how many residences can be in this development. Mr. Paradise stated that depends on the number of people in the house, and that doesn't make sense. Residences? Yeah.
Number of,
I mean, how many people can be in there? A residence, TS?
Yeah.
about the number of people residing in the houses. Or,
But how many residences? That's a house, so resident would be a T on there.
TS.
instead of
Okay.
a CES.
Yeah.
Correct?
yes, ma'am, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Got it now.
Any other changes?
I think that's it.
I'm glad I didn't have you for English.
Can I have a motion that we,
So moved.
second,
Second.
any discussion, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
We have confirmation of the agenda with one exception. Item 5 is a board discussion and action, and that may take quite a while. So if you would like, we will be happy to handle the variance request first so that you can leave. So we will handle item 5 after we handle item 6. That's okay with everybody?
Yes.
All right. Item 6 is ZV 22-009. It's a request by Winchester Homes for a variance from the minimum lot width required for the GC, General Commercial Zoning District, by Table 3.3, dimensional standards of the North Augusta Development Code, to allow for 24-foot wide lots. The appeal affects a proposed townhome development located along Barton Road. Tax parcel numbers 007-16-05-017, 007-1605-035, and 007-1605-034, 007-1605-033, 071605032, also 00716-05-027, 007-1605-028, 00-1605-029, 005-030, and finally 07007-16-05-031. This is approximately 3.43 plus or minus acres, zone general commercial. First of all, we'll have a public hearing. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive public comment on the application. So I open the public hearing, please. Mr. Paradise, what can you tell us about this?
Mr. Chairman, this is not an uncommon variance that you see. The one difference is that this is general commercial, where normally you see this variance in an R7. R7 has a 40-foot lot width requirement. The general commercial has a 50-foot lot width requirement. Both zoning districts allow townhomes. Table 3-3, the dimensional standards exempts the townhomes from lot size and a lot of different things, but it does not address lot width. So that is what they're requesting, is to reduce this to to allow 24-foot townhomes. This is table 3-3 here. As you see, it's a number of residential, I say residential, they've been subdivided in recent years since I've been here into more than a half dozen parcels. The plan, as I understand it, from the developer and his engineer who are present, is that they would like to consolidate these lots and build a townhome facility here. One of the things about the townhome that you'll see is here you have a curb cut every 50 feet, a driveway onto Barton Road. In their development, you would have 2 curb cuts. So that's just one safety.
I believe it's just one curb cut, isn't it?
Yes, one curb cut, I'm thinking, yes. So to me I think I was looking at an earlier version, but you're correct. So this gives you an idea of what the townhomes would look like with the garage and the floor plans of each of them. And then this gives you probably the best view, or I think is the best view of how the townhomes would be laid out. In some of the other townhomes, we've been able to get the end units to meet the minimum lot requirements or something, but this one is so tight, it's pretty challenging to do that. Now, when you look at the lots to the rear, you'll notice they're residential lots. There's a lot of things that go here by right, including a convenience store, small commercial shopping center, because it is zoned general commercial. From the planning part of view, residential use kind of fits into the neighborhood better. But we have that 50-foot minimum width lot requirement that we get stuck with for townhomes. And most townhomes are 22, 24, 28 feet in width. So this is not uncommon size for a townhome.
What is a TND?
TND.
T, like in Tango, November, Delta.
There you
What?
go.
Oh,
Any
I
questions?
was looking at the chart, thinking, where is that?
it's in A up there where it says notes to table 3.3,
Yes, sir.
subsection little a. It had T and D's, and I should have known, I guess, what that was, but I didn't.
Any other questions of Tommy? Would Val like to give us some information, please? Talk to us about it. Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. State your name and
Charlie Hall. I work for Benish Engineering in Augusta, Georgia.
what can you tell us about this project?
Well, of course, I don't know that I can say anything that hasn't already been said, we wrote the narrative to go along with this, but, when I and I've worked in this town for 37 years. I've never had to come before this board before. I think variances are one of these things you should approach with caution. And they should be based on merit, not based on, well, I don't like it. But regardless, you know, when I saw that the zoning was general commercial, it was a little bit, it was surprising that it was general commercial, but that's a very aggressive zoning in the city of North Augusta. And it's a fairly small area that's zoned that way. It's not a, you know, it doesn't really fit. And, you know, so there's a lot of questions of why didn't you rezone it? And I'll just say, you know, there are some things about the densities we can get within the GC zone that we like. But I believe that we can overall come to an agreement that we certainly better suit the neighborhood by developing residential and versus a strip mall or whatever else could fit in there. And if we rezone to R7, I'd have to come back for a variance anyway because of the 40-foot lot width. And, you know, a 40-foot width for a townhome, even 40, that's a big townhome. And certainly 50 is, that's not a townhome, that's something else. You might attach it, but I don't know why you would. So, you know, the hardship obviously is that we contend that the lot width has brought us the hardship. It's a unique situation that you don't see in other parts of the city because we don't see this general commercial zone sort of islanded off by residential around it. And the flip side of this is this thing could house a 35,000 square foot commercial area, strip center, whatever, with 100 parking spaces, and you know the required open space would be minimal. And we're presenting that we would like to provide for 3 open spaces on the site, 2 greens and a playground, all of which would be improved, and that commitment actually almost doubles the value of the open space according to the development code, because when you improve open space rather than just making it open space, you get credit. And so we like think 1.9 times the open space. So we feel like we can actually bring some improvement here as well as a little bit more density than you would get with R7, but a lot less than we could get with R5 because that's 24 units to the acre. We're coming in around 10 units to the acre on this small piece. Conditions that don't apply to other parts of the city, I believe I've outlined that. You just don't see this zone, this pocketed anywhere else in the city. I don't know of another townhome development that's asked to be within a general commercial district. Even the planned districts are not, have not requested that. I do believe that the variance in terms of the 24-foot is a reasonable width. We've seen some of the previous variances go down to as small as 16 feet, so we're well above that. The granting of this variance would not be detrimental. I think that speaks for itself because I believe we're within a neighborhood, and developing single family would not only keep it residential, but I believe bring in some new blood into the neighborhood that may be much needed. You've got the improvements on Atomic Road that have been completed, and I think vastly improves that corridor through there. And I believe we would continue that. The voluntary contributions to the ordinance are again the improved green space. We're within the hash marks on the impervious space, impervious ratio, and with that, I'd like to entertain any questions that you have.
I'll go back and ask Tommy one that I forgot to ask. Is Barton Road a state road?
It is.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And we
So
have talked to
you'll
the
have to go to
state
the
about
DOT,
the
yeah.
curb cut.
Right.
There was an earlier version of that plan that had 2 curb cuts, and the state wasn't happy about that. We have presented this to them, and of course they don't care what we're building.
Right.
But they were very happy with the reduction from 2 to 1, and I can certainly guarantee they'd be happy from the 10 to 1.
I'll ask you another question about the playground that came up last night in the study session. that the city council had. Mr. Paradise gave a presentation, and I saw it. Are you gonna build that playground?
Are we going to what?
Will you build the playground?
We're the engineering firm.
Well,
So the developer would install some playground equipment.
Playground, so he would.
I can't tell you what that would be.
No, that's fine. I'm not asking that. I don't.
Right, yes, sir.
That is the developer will.
That's part of the plan.
All right. Who maintains that and all the green space? Will the developer do that? Is that sort of like a homeowner's?
It would be a homeowners association that would
Okay.
keep up with the, cutting the grass and, because there's some peripheral green space that would also need maintenance. And I don't pretend to be an expert on homeowners associations, but that's how this would function.
Tom, if you would, put that picture of the townhomes up, please. Yeah, that one. Is that basically what you're proposing?
Come up, so
Yeah, let's swear you
we can-
into, swear you right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and so help you God?
Yes, sir.
State your name and,
TJ Washburn with Winchester Home Builders.
all right.
So the interior units could change a little bit. We could go to a 3-bedroom instead of doing some 2 bedrooms, but the elevations would stay the same. I think the 3 bedrooms, 1,700 square feet, and the interior is maybe 1,400. So,
And these will be sold, right, not rented?
well, right now, the way we're presenting, we can't do fee simple lots because we'd have to do this project under a site plan, the way the zoning is. So that's why we're here to be able to get, Tommy said we're gonna consolidate. What we wanna do is do individual lots, so we can sell the homes, and we might, as our group, keep a few for ourselves, but we don't have the flexibility to sell them today under the zoning. We can, the way I understand it, this can be built under a site plan and have no lot lines. That's not exactly what we wanna do. That's what the variance.
they could come in and build all this on one parcel as multifamily and rent it. They would not be able to sell it because they wouldn't be individually deeded, individually lots. My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is they wish to sell most of these. They may keep a couple, but they want to sell these and not maintain them as multifamily. So that's why they need the lot width variance, so they could do that. One is they're trying not to build multifamily. They're trying to build single family attached.
And we appreciate that. We got enough apartments in North Augusta. Anybody have any other questions?
I got a question on the plan, the site plan, yeah. So how does trash pickup work in a townhome development? Is there just okay, it's not a dumpster to hide somewhere, okay.
These, my understanding is these would be just like your house or just like,
All right. Okay.
I have no further questions.
I have a question. You may have answered it in the history of the site. I just can't find that right now. And this doesn't have anything to do with y'all, but I'm just curious, why do we have that zoning in the middle of that residential area?
Ms. Stallworth, you've been in North Augusta a lot longer than me. And
I know the zoning board.
I tend to give that answer of BT before Tommy. I really don't know. Other than, and I'd have to look at it.
It's almost as though someone wanted it zoned that way because they had a plan for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at the history, it does pretty much states that.
Where does it, I can't find the history right now.
It's on page 3 of 7.
You've also got to realize that there's been a code change since
Right.
this was probably,
Oh, here it
since
is.
zoning came to North Augusta. So there's, I don't know what this was in the previous version.
Yeah, it was all put together and then split back up again.
Yeah.
Is this one where they got rid of some mobile homes?
Yeah, there was
Yeah,
two
there
mobile
were
homes
two
on there.
there.
'Cause- Yeah, two mobile homes were there at one time. Well, there's probably more than that, but when they started dividing the property up and looking at it to
There was
do
two
something
there.
to it, there was just two left. And at some point in time, and I think it was in the very first zoning ordinance that we put in, way back, in 72 or 3, they zoned out mobile homes, except in a couple of places. And any that were there could stay until something happened, and then they had to go. So that's basically the story on mobile homes. In fact, I think there's only one place now in North Augusta that's actually.
I don't know of one that, in North Augusta.
Well, that
Gentry's,
was the one that I-
Gentry's is not in the city.
No, it's not in the city. That's right.
What
That's
is
what I was
that?
thinking.
Gentry's?
Gentry's over
Gentry's,
there.
yeah.
Yeah. It's a shame it's
It's
not. in the city.
unfortunate it's not in the city.
Um,
Yeah,
Mhm.
remember there used to be all those mobile homes at Jackson and, Buena Vista and
West. Oh yeah, that was a
All
big.
all the waitresses at the Waffle House lived there in those mobile homes and walked to work. And were all upset when the zoning was changed. And then as they died or they moved or whatever, you couldn't, the mobile home had to go. But there was a whole, where Jackson Square is now, there was a whole lot of mobile homes.
Do we have any other questions of these two gentlemen?
I admire what you're trying to do there. And I'm sure the neighbors across the street do also. Well, it is a wonderful investment in that area as far as the, plan goes.
When we start our deliberation, we may ask y'all another question. You just remember you under oath.
Thank you.
Anything else before? I close the public hearing at this time. And we have the consideration of the request for a variance. And you said a while ago you didn't like to come before a board for a variance, but let me read to you what we have to do for it. We have actually 10 items, 9 of which we have to find tonight. One of them is not applicable. We have to find each one of them in the affirmative. If any one of them we find not in the affirmative, the variance can't be granted. Typically, we go through them one at a time. I'm going to have to read them all, and then we'll go back through them one at a time and have deliberation on them and discussion up here. Again, we may ask you a question. We may ask Mr. Paradise a question to get some clarification. And then we vote on that one, and then we move on to the next one. So I'll read these. A variance may be granted in an individual case of unnecessary hardship if the Board of Zoning Appeals makes and explains in writing all of the following. Number 1 is unnecessary hardship exists. Number 2, there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to this particular piece of property. Number 3, the conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. Number 4 is because of the conditions, the application of the chapter of the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. And number 5, the authorization of the variance will not be of substantial detriment to the adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. Harm to the character of the district may include structures that are significantly out of scale, and the creation or potential of the creation of excessive noise, light, traffic, or incompatible late-night activity. Number 6, as I said, does not apply as pertains to signs. Number 7, the Board of Zoning Appeals may not grant a variance, the effect of which would be to allow the establishment of a use not otherwise permitted in a zoning district. B, to extend physically a non-conforming use of the land. Or C, change the zoning boundaries shown on the official zoning map. Number 8, if the unnecessary hardship is self-imposed by the applicant, the variance should not be granted. Excuse me. Number 9, the fact that the property may be utilized more profitable should a variance be granted shall not be considered a ground for a variance. And number 10, the granting of a variance, the Board of Zoning Appeals may attach to it such conditions regarding the location, character, or other features and of the proposed building, structure, or use as the board may consider advisable to promote the public health, safety, or general welfare. Excuse me. Based on these findings of fact, the Board of Zoning Appeals may approve with the conditions, or deny the request. That's what we have to go through in order to grant you a variance. So, we'll take them one at a time, and go through them. Number 1, an unnecessary hardship exists. The applicant states that townhomes are permitted by right in the general commercial zoning district, but the minimum lot width is only reasonable for a commercial tract or outparcel. Staff notes that there are existing townhome developments in the city limits on smaller lots, but they are not necessarily subject to the same dimensional standards since the requirements vary by zoning districts. What do we say about this one?
I agree.
I agree that, I mean, if you, it's not going to be a commercial development.
I think past precedent and the bullet for item number 4, where it says the applicant states requirements of the GC zoning district mandates an unusually wide townhome product and renders the townhome development unfeasible. So I think that applies to this
Right.
item too.
So we agree on number 1.
I agree.
Number 2, there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. The applicant states that the parcel is located within a largely residential zoned area and that a single-family home is better use of the land than. Does that read right? The applicant states the parcel is located within a largely residential zoned area and that single-family home is a better use of the land than commercial use. Okay.
R.
Okay. I'm gonna change that myself. Okay. The applicant believes the surrounding neighborhood will be better preserved with the development of a residential use. Staff notes that the purpose of the general commercial zoning district is to provide for areas in the city where large-scale commercial development may take place, and that through residential uses are allowed, the code does not provide guidance specific to residential development in the commercial districts. What do we think about this one?
Well, I think that's a fault of the code right there, not providing for guidelines for the residential use within a general commercial area. And probably because it's so unusual, you know, is why it was overlooked or whatever. I agree with the applicant that this is a better use of the land
Oh,
for the neighborhood.
We are going to discuss some of these things in our discussion after this, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you know if any of this is already being looked at in the development code?
We, yes, sir. This is something that we would want to get addressed in the new code.
Okay. So, and we believe that the new development code will be in place by the time this gets developed, don't we? Or do we?
Yes, sir.
Which brings up another point. Does this development, they've come to you already, if it starts before the new code then goes into effect, then it's got to be built by the old code, other than variances or whatever,
Correct.
waivers or anything else.
If you grant a variance or they get development code approval, they would have 2 years to start the project or those development plans fall apart.
Okay.
we would not penalize somebody because we changed the code in the middle of a project. Likewise, if we've got something on the table that we are working through, I would like the adoption not to change the rules in the middle of a project design. That's just not fair.
It's not, it's
All right. I just wanted to make sure. How do we feel on this one?
I'm okay with
Good.
I'm okay with it.
Number 3, the conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. The applicant states that similar zoning districts allow for similar size units within a residential zoning district, and that a rezoning would require the same variance request. Staff notes that other townhome projects have been referred to the Board of Zoning Appeals for variance to the lot width requirements of Table 3.3 dimensional standards, but that not all properties have the unique challenge of minimum lot width.
That goes back to the same thing about it being in general commercial. Is that what we're saying here?
That's the way I read it.
Well, I think past precedent is to allow the reduced
Right.
middle lot width, because it doesn't fit with townhomes.
So are we okay with that one,
Yeah.
Mr. Burkhalter? Okay. Number 4, because of the conditions, the application of this chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property, and the applicant states that the requirements of the GC zoning district mandate an unusual wide townhome product and render townhome development unfeasible despite the being allowed by the right of the use of the chart. Staff notes that development code poses challenges for modern townhome development on wider lots.
I agree.
I think that's a fault of the code there.
Yes.
I don't have any problem with 4.
Okay, we agree on that one?
Good.
Number 5, the authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to the adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed, excuse me, by the granting of the variance. Harm to the character of the district may include structures that are significantly out of scale and the creation or potential of the creation of excessive noise, light, traffic, or incompatible late-night activity. I don't think we even need to read what the staff said or the applicant said. That one is, they absolutely are not doing that.
It's such a small developer, it doesn't even trip the traffic study requirement, does it?
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, I do have a question, Tommy, of you. Have any neighbors called wondering what's going on?
No, ma'am.
I went by there today or yesterday and rode through there, and I don't even believe that the garage is still working, is it? It looked like to me it was closed. Tommy?
Yes. I don't know. Yeah, usually when I ride through there, it's on the way in to work in the mornings. So I don't know what time they open and start working, so I really don't know.
And across the street, right about where this development is going in, is I think only one house that anybody's living in.
I went by there the other day. There were several people out in yards. 2 or 3 yards, 3 yards at least they were out there. And I thought the Tinley place was still going on because there were cars there, but they may just be abandoned.
Okay, so we agree on 5.
I'm good with 5.
6, I said, is not applicable. Again, that's dealing with signs. Number 7, the Board of Zoning Appeals may not grant a variance, the effect of which would be to A, allow the establishment of a use not otherwise permitted in the zoning district. We're not doing that. B, to extend physically a non-conforming use of the land. They're not doing that. And to change zoning district boundaries as shown on the official zoning map. The application does not do that. So we can go with that one.
Right.
Good.
Number 8. If the unnecessary hardship is self-imposed by the applicant, the variance should not be granted. Staff notes that the requirement of the minimum lot width are imposed by the North Augusta Development Code or the GC zoning district. And I guess I would add to that, that he could still build this project with 50 foot if he wanted to.
Couldn't sell them.
May not be able to sell them, but you can build them. So we're okay with that one?
I'm good.
Okay, the fact that the property may be utilized more profitable should a variance be granted shall not be considered for grounds of a variance. Staff recognizes that the property may be used more profitable to development, but is not the sole grounds for the variance requested. I'm not sure how you could use it much more, unless you built a factory in there.
Well, I would, and I know this is always a discussion, but if you have a commercial development in there, that is probably more profitable with rent and maintenance, with, oncurring revenue than by putting a residential. Usually commercial's a higher return.
However, you have more turnover in a strip mall than any other place you have any turnover in I've ever seen. What do you say about number 9?
I'm good with it.
The way I look at it is speculation as far as profitability. You don't know that anybody's gonna come in there from a commercial standpoint and want it. Still a pretty confined area, 3.5 acres, a little bit less. Whereas this is a reasonable use. Sure, the end result is somebody hopes to make a profit from it, but I don't see that this is being done to increase profitability. I just see it as being done to be compatible with the existing area and to be a development.
Well, it's been,
That's always a difficult one.
right, it's been sitting there since 2007 and nothing's been going on.
I think
This is one time I can agree with that one.
it's not feasible unless you do reduce the minimum lot width.
Right.
So we okay with that one?
Yes.
We're getting close. Number 10, in granting the variance, the Board of Zoning Appeals may attach to it such conditions regarding the location, character, or other features of the proposed building structure or uses as the board may consider advisable to promote the public health, safety, or general welfare. Staff notes the approval is subject to a major subdivision preliminary plat review and approval by the Planning Commission. Any plans submitted would be required to meet all of the other requirements of the North Augusta Development Code. The applicant has not provided a complete civil set for the review at this time. The developer has presented a voluntary comment to exceed the total equivalent open space required and provide more pervious surface area than the limit. Staff recommends the following conditions for approval. The development plan for the project will be as generally shown on the concept plan submitted to the BZA. I agree to that.
Agree.
Anything else we need to add in there? Tom, is anything else you've left out?
No, sir. None that I'm aware of.
Any other discussion on this? All right, so we have found all of these in the affirmative. Can I have a motion, Mr. Motion Maker?
Okay. Based on the findings previously discussed and voted on, I move that application number ZV 22-009 Barton Road Townhomes, a request by Winchester Homes for a variance pursuant to sections Article 3 zoning districts, Table 3-3, dimensional standards for the GC General Commercial Zoning District, Item G, minimum lot width of the North Augusta Development Code for a reduction in the minimum lot width be granted with the following condition. The development plan for the project will be as generally shown on the concept plan submitted to the BZA.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any other discussion?
Well, I would like to add a condition onto that, that the green space and the playground be maintained.
Can you ask that of a developer? Is that part of a project or part of the management of the facility?
We can ask that it be put in, but once he starts selling them and the homeowner association takes over, he has no control.
Well, is there gonna be a homeowners association in that townhouse development?
Developer said
There
yes.
is, okay, all right.
Now, you could possibly put a condition on there that there will be an HOA to take care of the common areas.
All right, let's add that.
Okay, so we'll have two conditions.
Yeah.
Number one, I've stated earlier. Number two, a homeowners association will be responsible for maintaining the
Open
development.
space and playground.
Yes, what you just said.
We have a motion and we have a second to a motion. Now we have an amendment to the motion.
Yes.
So,
I second the amendment. Can I do that?
okay. We have an amended motion by Ms. Stallworth, seconded by Mr. Skaggs. We got to vote on, we vote on the amendment first, I believe, and then vote on the motion. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. All in favor of the original amendment, original motion, say aye.
Aye.
Passed unanimous. Welcome to the city of North Augusta.
I didn't say I didn't like coming before this board. I said
Well,
I
we
had not
understand.
had to.
Had
Well,
to.
And
We
I do
appreciate
not-
that.
I personally do not push most of my clients towards a variance because most communities do not take it apart like you have, but this is the way it's supposed to be done. It's supposed to be a hardship. It's supposed to have rules of engagement, whereas many of my clients, not this one, come to me and say, well, I just don't want to do this. So I'm gonna ask for a variance, and a lot of times they get it because the board doesn't understand, and the applicant doesn't understand what the original intent of the zoning ordinances and the variances or the, your recourse with them really are. So I appreciate each one of your sacrifice for your time.
We appreciate
I
your
just-
comments.
I just wanted you to know that I did not want to come before.
No, I understand.
I understand.
We welcome you back anytime.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Okay. Now we'll go back to item number 5. Well, that project will be a great addition to
Oh,
that
my
area,
gosh.
my lord. I didn't ask him, do you know what the price of those things are gonna be?
I don't. But I would think it'd be at least 2,
Yeah, oh, yeah,
or 250 to 3,
yeah, I would think
I think so.
depending on the amenities and that type of thing.
Let me ask you this about, talking about those houses across the street. It did look like the very first one was abandoned. Now, what is the city's policy on abandoned homes?
You can own a home, you don't have to have anybody reside in it. But the city does require that you maintain the yard and maintain the building.
Well, maybe they ought to ride by and look at that.
I will talk to our code enforcement guy tomorrow.
It's the first one on the right from Buena Vista.
And I think that backs up to the lot that we may have a development looking to come, is that small triangle lot.
Oh, really?
There's a sign, I think it's that corner, going on the Barton, where, there's a sign there coming, I forget what, the name of the company is, but it would be an office building.
Well, that would be a great addition, those townhouses. I hope you can sell them at that price.
Before we start with number 5, I don't know if y'all know it or not, but Tommy has officially been named the planning director for the city of North
Well,
Augusta.
wonderful. I'm
He's
glad
no
you
longer
took
Mr.
it.
Interim.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, and I'm off contract now too, so I mess up, they can fire me real easy.
I don't think they'll do that. All right.
I'm fortunate to be here.
Let's talk about item 5, board discussion and action on 3.3, dimension standards.
Now, Mr. Chairman, just to, as you see on the screen, this is table 3-3. And if you look over to the right, of course, you know, you have the lot width on the left. But if you look over on the right, under the notes, the notes table 3-3, which I hate when you get into the actual book, because table 3-3, the way the page break goes, is on one page, and the notes are on the next page, so it's almost like we're hiding them. But footnote A, column B, minimum lot size requirements do not apply to conservation subdivisions, T&Ds, traditional neighborhood subdivisions, or developments, patio homes, duplexes, row houses, townhouses, apartments, or any other multifamily dwelling units. The minimum lot size figures are expressed in square feet, that's otherwise indicated, and additional rules of interpretation for minimum lot area are set forth in 3.5.4. And I gave you a copy of 3.5.4, which is down at the bottom there. So there was a question that arose from a former, I believe it's a former planning commissioner. And, you know, if you look at, one is, you know, there has been some significant, y'all have seen a significant number of these same variances, which indicates there's probably an issue with the code. Now, and you know, 3.5.4, I think you could look at it and say, okay, well, for townhouses, there's not a minimum lot width. So it's subject to density requirements. And so, you know, if you look to 3.5.4, except for non-conforming lots of record, development subject to use patterns are developed subject to maximum density in lieu of minimum lot size. Does that give an out to where it doesn't need to come before y'all for the townhomes? I asked the question. I'm not advocating for that. I would like something, to be honest with you, a little bit more, that's kind of a backdoor. I like things kind of linear. The one thing about that, if that was the interpretation, there would be no minimum lot size, so it could be a 12-foot wide townhome. 10-foot. I mean, there's no bottom limit, and so I just mentioned that as an unintended consequence if we were to move forward with interpreting it that way.
So the only thing that would stop it from being 10 foot wide is you have a maximum density.
Right. Now, the other thing is, you know, do y'all think that, no, we're interpreting it right the way we're doing it now? And do we leave it alone, or does the board want to recommend to the planning commission or council that we look at it, or do you want to wait and let the new development code address it? It's just kind of one of those things that was brought up.
I would say let's let's wait, see what comes out of the new development code, and then we get back and talk about it again
Because we'll
and make a
have
recommendation, because the,
proofs of that before it's goes into effect, correct? I mean, you'll have public
Right.
hearings about it, so at that time, we could address it if it's,
or even afterwards, the city can write a text amendment anytime
yeah, that's true.
to change it, if it needs to be changed. Well, just for example, that one, like he said, a 50-foot wide townhome, that's a monster.
That it doesn't fit.
Well, but the other side of that coin, maybe that's why they put it in there, is because they felt like that, yeah, if somebody wanted to build one in there, they could, but you couldn't just build anything in there. Smaller.
The way it's set up now, it does get some oversight of y'all looking at the project before signing off on it.
Yeah, I think that's, so my question, how would some of the other previous applications played out if it was just based on density? I guess the density requirements were still maintained.
Well, all of them, I think the one I'm most familiar with would be Martintown Ridge, and that one, I don't see a change there. Some of the one behind Knollwood, I'm not sure how that one would have been different, if they would have wanted more townhomes there. I really don't know.
So you got two requirements now. You got a density requirement and a minimum lot width requirement in addition to all the other ones.
Correct.
And you would be eliminating one. Is that right? If you interpret it this way?
Correct. You would do away with the lot width
So
altogether.
they could potentially, you could get, maybe could put more in,
Oh, yeah.
so.
Oh, yeah, you'd have somebody try it.
Oh, yeah.
Guarantee you, somebody would try to put 12-footers in there.
Well, you know, we've seen 16-footers. So we know they can go that. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. My question is that a good thing for the city? And with density comes issues, you know.
I'd rather see density and minimum lot width.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
I'd
like
rather
they got
see
now.
both.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and in the new code, you know, there may need to be a footnote that says townhomes are subject to 22, 24, 20, whatever lot width, subject to a specific lot width, minimum lot width. And tie that back so that regardless of what zoning district they're in, we would get at least that minimum size width in a townhome. But I'm doing all the talking here, and
We're listening.
this is for y'all to decide and tell me what y'all want to do.
I think we leave it alone until the new one comes out, and then
That's my hunch too.
we'll take a look at it.
Sounds like a winner.
Anything else?
I think that's it, Mr. Chairman.
I got one question, just, you know, so when it comes to conditions, when it talks about conditions, if we add conditions to an application, you know, the traffic thing is always, that's my hang-up, I struggle through. Is it possible to add conditions to the traffic study?
No,
Is
sir.
that reasonable? That's not reasonable?
The traffic study spelled out in the ordinance. What kind of I guess I need to know what kind of conditions we're talking about.
Well, the traffic study itself is done by a standard, but the acceptance criteria are in the code,
Correct.
okay? then, so if you wanted to make sure a particular intersection that may be outside the quarter mile or out the half mile circle radius of the development, it needs to be evaluated. Could you put that in as a condition in the variance to that, would that particular intersection be evaluated as part of the traffic study?
I think you might could,
And, or if you want to make sure that the,
as long as it's germane to the application before you.
so and you make sure all the peak hours meet some level of a service standard. And it's got to be done in,
I think what you could do is, say there is a intersection that's outside the half-mile range, but say it's 3/4 of a mile. Now, if you get 5 miles down the
Yeah,
road, we
sure.
got a problem. There's got to be a reasonable connection.
yes,
That it be evaluated as part of the traffic count, traffic study, and necessary improvements be a condition of approval.
so in other words, if we're discussing traffic, rather than just say a traffic study is going to solve everything, if we still have doubts, maybe we can have specific things into conditions to address our concern.
Well, I'll give you an example. And I don't know that they didn't do this, but this makes a big difference. The traffic study had to be done for the project behind Knollwood. Did they do it during peak hours when the kids are going to school and getting out of school? Or did they do it
Took
at?
place during COVID, too.
Well,
at-
but
at
they
11
had,
o'clock at 11 o'clock in the morning and
That, they do a 24-hour number,
24
and,
hours.
it's gotten pretty technical. They used to sit out there and count.
it had,
But now some of them are using video. We'll put a camera out there and count the cars.
they had morning and afternoon peak hours and data, and then they applied a factor because of COVID, just to do something.
And in any traffic study is not relevant outside of the school calendar year. So, school traffic is a big deal.
Right.
And we get that counted.
We know that, don't we?
Yeah, y'all sure do over there.
Thank you.
Anything else we need to discuss? Tom, anything you need to tell us?
No, sir.
Then I will close the meeting.